Good evening. It remains Britain's biggest unsolved mass murder, and for decades the families of the victims of the Birmingham pub bombings have had to fight for answers and for justice. But today they say it feels further away than ever as the government confirmed it will not hold a public inquiry into the killings.
21 people died and more than 200 were injured when bombs exploded in the Mulberry Bush and Tavern in the Town pubs in November 1974. The government has said it will offer families an alternative to a public inquiry. We'll hear more on that in just a moment from our political correspondent Alison Mackenzie in Westminster. But first, Ravneet Nandra joins us from the memorial to the pub bombing victims near Birmingham New Street Station. Ravneet, families have been campaigning for this for such a long time. This must feel like a real setback for them.
Absolutely, Charlotte. You can understand this is a devastating blow for survivors, relatives and campaigners who have been fighting now for more than half a century for justice, an event that shook Birmingham and continues to shake the city. Now, next month will be 51 years since two bombs exploded at two pubs, the Mulberry Bush and the Tavern, which to this day remains unsolved. 21 people died and 220 people were injured. Now, the group known as the Birmingham Six were initially convicted of the attacks but freed in 1991 after being cleared of involvement. An inquest in 2019 ruled that the victims were unlawfully killed by the Irish Republican Army, the IRA, but the identities of those responsible has never been released, which fueled the campaigners' fight for that public inquiry, most notably Julie Hambleton. Her sister Maxine was only 18 when she died at the Tavern. She set up Justice for the 21, a campaign group to call for that public inquiry, but we now know today that will not happen. The government believing it's not the most appropriate route to seek truth. And Ms Hamilton says that her initial reaction was one of disappointment and outrage, but she will continue to fight for that public inquiry.
It's almost as if they're stamping on the graves of our loved ones. We are the voice for the 21. They're not here to fight for justice and truth, but we are. And for as long as we have breath in our bodies, we will speak and fight for them, the survivors, the Irish community who were vilified totally unnecessarily, and for our city.
Now at one of the memorials for the victims of the pub bombings, 15-foot-high tall steel trees with leaves adorning the names of those victims and their ages. It was supposed to be a symbol of peace and unity in the city, but today, for those survivors, the relatives and the campaigners fighting for justice, the feeling of peace and unity is far from their truth.
Ravneet, for now, thank you. Well, let's cross to our political correspondent, Alison. And Alison, we've heard about the frustrations and disappointment and anger from families of the victims. What's next for them?
Yes, well, good evening to you. What the government is saying in its statement from Security Minister Dan Jarvis is that they're now pointing the families to what's known as the Independent Commission for Reconciliation and Information Recovery, ICRIR. It's such a big phrase of words, but it's linked to those cases connected to the Troubles generally in Northern Ireland. You remember that the inquest jury in 2019 said that they concluded the victims came as a result of the action by the IRA. The government say they accept it'll be not the same as a public inquiry, but they say it'll be independent, it'll be thorough, they can compel witnesses, and in that they have the backing of the Birmingham Edgbaston MP, the Labour MP, Preet Gill.
It's important to note that the Independent Commission is independent from government. It does have the powers, robust powers for arrest, to demand resources, for witnesses to turn up. So this is not about having a commission that doesn't have the teeth in terms of really getting into the inquiry. And that's what I want to really speak to those campaigners. And I've reached out to have a meeting because I really want to understand, and I want them to be able to really ask the questions about any concerns that they think that the inquiry won't get to, as opposed to the public inquiry that they called for.
So she's in favour of that commission, but a different view from another Birmingham MP, Liam Byrne. He says that it's wrong not to have a public inquiry. And in a statement tonight to us, he says, "My view is that the fight must not stop here. It must go on. So I plan to bring this to the floor of the Commons once more to see what can be done to give those families what they long deserve, a process that gets to the truth of who murdered their loved ones." So he doesn't want the commission to go ahead, he wants a public inquiry. The view, possibly, can they challenge that now legally? Yes, says Ayub Khan, the independent MP for Perry Barr.
We need to have accountability, and those that perpetrated, the public need to know who they were. I'll certainly be supporting anyone calling for a judicial review. As you know, this is a mechanism by which people could challenge the government's position.
But of course, there's always these questions, suggestions that what was known before the bombings, what was known after the bombings, that's been front and centre of the lawyer supporting the families. We spoke to him tonight. He's heard of the news, no public inquiry, this commission. His reaction tonight.
This cannot be kicked down the road anymore. The ICRIR and the Legacy Commission cannot deal with this. As I stated earlier, they hold a veto on the intelligence, and this is the Home Office now, in effect, marking their own homework, and the families are left to go into another process, another few years, of the cans kicked proverbially down the road.
51 years, who believe that long and still no a happy resolution for the families. Will they challenge in court what the government has done today? We'll find out, but clearly support on both sides of the way forward.
Alison, for now, thank you.
Next.